you. This is Local 4 News at 6.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Needleman.
And I'm Tiffany Lundberg. Thanks for joining us for Local 4 News at 6. We begin with breaking news out of Davenport tonight.
Local 4 News just learned that a man living at the home of Alderman Bill Boom has been arrested on drug charges. 25-year-old Gage Wenth is in custody facing felony drug charges, including 2 counts of possession with intent to deliver. According to an affidavit, Davenport police seized crystal meth, marijuana, and 2 rifles at the Boom house on West 7th Street. Local 4 News just spoke with Alderman Boom, who says Wenth is a young person who Boom was mentoring.
Boom tells Local 4 News he is currently in Austin, Texas at a conference and didn't know about the arrest until he started receiving calls from neighbors that the police were at his home. Boom says he did not know about the drugs found in his home, but that the rifles do belong to him, and he described them as hunting rifles. He says Wenth has been living with him for about 6 years.
Tonight on Local 4 News at 10, what Alderman Boom has more to say about his relationship with Wenth and those pending charges. Extended sewer construction work in Rock Island has been going on longer than a lot of people expected. Tonight, Local 4 News learned what put the sewer replacement behind schedule.
The project was originally supposed to be done last October, but the deadline was extended to mid-December. But months later, it's still not finished. Some business owners say that construction is making it difficult for them. Local 4's Krista Burris shares what city leaders are saying about those delays.
Rock Island city officials say the sewer main project started in the fall of 2014 and moved throughout 6th Avenue. It's about 4 months behind the latest deadline, December 18th. First Ward Alderman Ivory Clark says it's hard to keep people in the loop.
I had told people it would be done in the fall, by the middle of fall, and then I had to change that date to December 18th, and then it still was not done.
Automotive expert owner John Gatilla says the construction has hurt his business. There is one road clear in front of his shop now, but there were months when he says it was nearly impossible to get to.
I mean, I know I lost over at least $8,000 with these roads being shut down just over the course of the 2.5 months that they gained me no access to get in here.
Clark says people have come to him with concerns about the construction, and he says he understands the frustrations of residents and business owners.
The leaders of Rock Island, we're going to do all we can to make sure that this is right in the end.
Brandt's Construction is working on the sewer main project. We reached out to Brandt for comment, but so far they haven't returned our calls.
I mean, you have a deadline and you don't meet that deadline, there should be a fine imposed because they did not meet that deadline.
Public Works Director Randy Tweet says the city could fine Brandt for each day of work after the latest deadline, but it's not been done. He says the city just wants the work finished.
There were some things that we found that weren't expected, which happens anytime you're digging underground. You're going to find some.
Tweet says the project should be complete in about 6 weeks. Krista Burris, Local 4 News.
Davenport School District Superintendent says mistakes were made when responding to last week's pepper spray incident at Williams Intermediate School. More than 20 kids were hit by pepper spray in the cafeteria. They went to the hospital. Superintendent Art Tate sent an apologetic note to parents. He called the incident the most unusual thing he's dealt with on campus in his 18 years. Tate says the district is now reviewing its entire emergency response system and admits the district took too long to let parents know what happened. Tate says the school employees did all they could, but it took him a while to understand the extent of the crisis.
A 16-year-old student was stabbed at Bettendorf High School this morning. A spokesperson for the school district says a 15-year-old female student stabbed a 16-year-old male with a knife around 8 a.m. The male suffered injuries to his back and arm and was treated at the school, but didn't have to go to the hospital. The female student was taken to Scott County Juvenile Detention Center. She will face several charges, including 2 felonies, at her court hearing tomorrow.
Davenport police are looking for 2 men who held up a convenience store at gunpoint early this morning. It happened around 3 at the Quick Shop on Rockingham Road. Detectives say the robbers pulled a handgun, fired a round into the wall, then demanded money from the clerk. They got away with some cash. No one was hurt. A scam alert comes from Iowa American Water warning you to look out for people pretending to work for the company. The company says it's received complaints about people posing as employees to get into homes. 2 Davenport customers called the water company yesterday to confirm if someone who knocked on their door works for Iowa American. They didn't have a scheduled appointment, and the person did not have an ID badge. Senator Dick Durbin called out Republicans for stalling on President Obama's Supreme Court nominee. Durbin's remark came after he met with Judge Merrick Garland today.
I'll do everything in my power to urge my colleagues to step forward and break ranks with Senator McConnell and to stand by the Constitution, stand by the precedent and history of the United States Senate, and give Merrick Garland his day.
Durbin says Garland deserves a chance to be heard. Iowa Senator and Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley broke ranks and met with Garland yesterday, but says he is standing firm against holding confirmation hearings.
There are about 300,000 victims of sexual assault each year in the United States, and that's why Illinois State Senator Scott Bennett is pushing legislation to help victims seek justice for sexual assault and abuse. The bill's goal is to encourage victims to press charges and make sure they get the help they need to recover. It also proposes a support-style line that would be similar to 911, but would focus on sexual assault calls.
Iowa Governor Terry Branstad signed a bill into law to give emergency responders access to a heroin antidote. Firefighters, paramedics, and police officers are now allowed to administer Narcan to someone suffering from a heroin overdose. The number of heroin overdoses in Iowa has more than tripled since 2010. Drug experts say several things factor into the increase. One is that heroin is relatively cheap and easy to use.
This legislation is a positive step forward in decreasing the tragedies that an opioid overdose can have on Iowans and their loved ones.
The bill also gives legal immunity to people who provide Narcan as long as they act reasonably and in good faith. It is a great time of the year, and some might go to the extreme by calling it a national holiday.
My dad would say that. We're talking about the start of baseball season here in the Quad Cities, and opening day is almost here. The Bandits start their season tomorrow in Cedar Rapids. Today they held their media day where the official 2016 Bandits were introduced, and Local 4 sports reporter Elliot Polikoff joins us now. Elliot, how is this year's team looking?
Well, if there's any indication by the clubhouse earlier today, this is a group that was very, very comfortable with each other. They were laughing, they were smiling, they were doing the dab, and they were really just a group that was having a lot of fun, even though baseball hasn't even started yet. They didn't play in the Quad Cities last year, most of them, but a lot of them played together, and you can tell that chemistry still carries over into this year's team.
Certainly there is an adjustment period to coming someplace new. What are their impressions so far of the Quad Cities?
Well, first off, obviously, is that they think it's very cold. A lot of them from Tampa, Florida, they mentioned to me, and they're like, oh,
That's a
it's
change.
90 degrees down there, and now it's 30 degrees out here. I'm freezing. But they like it out here, and they don't take it for granted, the situation that they're coming into, too. Houston, obviously, one of the better teams in the major leagues and one of the better minor league systems as well, and they get to play at Modern Woman, which, of course, has gotten a whole lot of accolades. And this is a Bandits team that had the most wins in the Midwest League last year, so they definitely don't take it for granted. And we'll hear more about what they think about being River Bandits coming up later in sports.
They're going to love it here.
All right, thanks, Elliot. Still ahead, parents and students connected to charter schools across Illinois headed to the state capitol.
And why they say they're tired of being ignored.
Yes. Okay.
WHBF is local for Sebula and local for you. This is Local 4 News at 6.